Let me continue with the last video to go a little bit step further. There's one aspect that we didn't cover in there. The process of capturing the business events. Yes, there can be multiple business events that are captured in a single customer transaction, but those aren't the only business events that are needed. Going from the transaction to a debit-credit representation, either the credit or the debit represent another business event, if you will. It's another thing that we want to measure, manage, control, evaluate. All of those things qualify it as a business event. So where in these three layers that I talked about in this last video does that happen? Well, it could happen within the business event capture layer. We could capture the business event at the time that the debit and credit or the other representations that we need at the time we capture the business event. Doing so may simplify the process, or because our posting process typically has a little bit of a lag in time from when the business event captures, we typically do not need to report balances instantaneously for analytical reporting processes. At least in the accounting world we haven't to date. Our accounting systems are moving towards daily systems. There can be a slight lag in when we do that business event capture process. It could be done at the late end of the business event capture process, or even effectively really at the first step of the posting process could be used to generate another set of business events if that was more efficient. The layer between there is that this generating these business events typically is based only upon data captured in the business event. The debit credit are only based upon data captured in the business event. They're not based upon balances that are needed. That brings up another point, that there are certain types of business events that are, we've talked about, that are temporal business events, things that happen because of the passage of time. Currency revaluation and currency translation processes, those kinds of things are things that we could do instantaneously every second, even every millisecond as the rates change, and we would generate a lot of business events. But the value of all of those business events are minimal. So if we wait and we capture a change in currencies between one period and another period, and we make that our business event, and is that period daily? Is it hourly? Is it something else? I don't know. It may vary depending upon the need, but it becomes a temporal business event, something that happens because of the passage of time, to capture what the rate is for translation and to do our translation process of the original transaction, the original business event. Another type of temporal event, though, is something that typically is done based upon the balance, because we do historical rebalancing or conversion, restatement, revaluation of balances based upon what the balance is. We could do that restatement based upon the originating transactions and recast what the currency value is of those transactions, but that requires that we read all the historical transactions. It's more efficient for us to generate a balance, and that process now complicates the posting process, because at the same time we'd like to, for efficiency purposes, at the same time we are reading the balances to do posting processes, we'd like to be able to generate more business events off of those set of balances at the same time. But we also then have to post those balances. So this stage of the process in posting becomes more complex. We're not only posting the incoming transactions against yesterday's balances, we're generating new business events against those same balances and posting those business events against those balances. And this can be true for analytical processes as well. So there might be things that we do that are management reporting, transfer pricing sorts of processes that generate new business events as of a passage of time, giving us a perspective of what's happened to balances over time that we need to do in that process. So do some of those analytical processes, do those become business events in a sense that we generate in the reporting layer? Because they're generated once. Their value is less, becomes more of a snapshot view of the world. Their value decreases when the next time we've run the analytical process, because we typically don't analyze these kinds of things over time, recognizing that the value of the analysis declines because it's more dependent upon our rule changes between execution, the types of things that we want to measure, not based upon some external factor to the business. And so even in the reporting layer, there can be business event generation, temporal business or analytical events generation in the reporting layer. All of these create complexity in our data supply chains, but they can be managed through the use of the concept of the instrument ledger. It can be done efficiently if we apply ourselves to using these principles effectively to create a metric engine.